So I'm very, very excited about this segment. Very excited. Because we have NFL Power Rankings. Here's how this works. Matt comes up with his top 10. I come up with my top 10. Kelly does his top 10. We submit it blindly to Kelly, and then we reveal. Matt, you're up first, Your Honor.
Yeah, so I went about mine. I will explain how we went about ours. Is if Team A were matched up against Team B on a neutral field, this is kind of how I think that this would all play out, right? And so that's kind of how I went about my rankings right now. And I think without a doubt, the Buffalo Bills are probably going to be favored against every team in the NFL right now.
Okay, so that's my first question. What you think the lines will be, or what you think will happen?
No, like if these teams played on a neutral field tomorrow,
yes,
the team ranked above would be favored over the team below them.
Oh, okay. Well, that's different to me than who you think, right? Because guessing the lines on it would be different to me than what I think. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead. That's my first question.
We always tripped ourselves up with this last year,
You
too.
understand what I'm asking,
Who
right?
are the 10 best teams in the NFL right now?
All right. So, sure. Yeah.
Good thing we have two segments.
All right. Yeah. See, this is good. I know this is good. We won't even get through the reveal in this segment. So, number 1, Buffalo Bills. Number 2, Los Angeles Rams. Number 3, the Tampa Bay Bucks. Number 4, the Dallas Cowboys. Number 5, Los Angeles Chargers. Number 6, Kansas City Chiefs. Number 7, Cleveland Browns. Number 8, Arizona Cardinals. Number 9, the Baltimore Ravens. And then number 10, the Green Bay Packers. So the Bills, I do believe, would be favored against any team in the NFL right now on a neutral field. And, I think that's and honestly, the way that they're playing, if the defense actually is as good as what we saw against the Chiefs this past week, they're the best team in the NFL. Now, does that carry over week to week to week as we continue moving forward? We shall see. But as they are constructed right now and as they're playing right now, they're the best team in the NFL. The Rams I don't think are too far behind them if they're playing up to their top level. We saw the kind of the one letdown game, but I think that the Rams are right there. Certainly the talent on both sides of the ball to get things going. We were saying as long as that Rams team could get Robert Woods going, then they would really actually have one of those offenses we were truly scared of, and they finally did get that going. And I think that that's a big, big, big thing for them. The Bucs are just the Bucs. They're going to be there no matter what. I mean, look, this past week we were a little bit worried about them being thin in the secondary with all the injuries they were battling on the defensive side of the ball. And they gave up a few points, but not really, and it didn't really matter. And plus that offense is just so incredibly dynamic when all the guys are out there, and Tom Brady just continues to play. It's so ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
It is so ridiculous. 400 yards, 5 touchdowns.
He's never done that before.
I know, 44 years old. It's just the stupidest thing. The Cowboys. I mean, this is the biggest surprise to me. So if anyone were to ask me, Matt, what's the biggest surprise to you as you sit here and we head into week 6 in your power rank? By far, it would be the Cowboys, because not only we knew they were going to have a good offense, I had absolutely no idea they were going to have even a competent defense, much less a really good defense. And this defense has been really good so far. And that makes this team super incredibly dangerous. Let's remember, they're doing all this right now without Michael Gallup. When he comes back, they're going to have a trio of Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup to go along with the production they're getting at the tight end position, to go along with the dual-headed monster that they have in the backfield as well. It is a scary, scary offense for them. And if that defense is even just middling, they're going to be a really, really tough out for anyone. The Chargers, a little bit of a surprise, but listen, I think that we all thought the upside was there for this Chargers team heading into the season. They're playing up to that upside right now. That defense, although there was a little bit of a chink in the armor this past week against the Browns, the Browns offense is actually just really good. Like, I don't think we can knock it too badly here on the Charger side of things, because it's just that Browns offense is really good. Chiefs coming at 6. I think this is the biggest surprise for me on the teams that I actually thought were going to be good, that they would be at 6 here as we head into week 6. But I also didn't expect one of the worst defenses I've ever seen, and they are horrible, and they can't do anything to stop the other teams, so they have to just go out there and outscore teams on a weekly basis. They turn it over one time, it's like they're behind the 8 ball at that point. So down at 6 for them. Browns at 7. I think they're really balanced and pretty good overall, but right now, again, I'm doing this based on the teams as of today. A lot of question marks around this team with the injury situations, stuff like that, so I have them sitting at 7. Cardinals at 8, 9, Baltimore Ravens 10, Green Bay Packers. You could pretty much kind of put those in a bowl and toss them around, and I wouldn't have too much of an argument for any one of those teams, though I do think the Cardinals, as we sit right here today, are better than the Ravens and Packers. But we'll see. Cardinals in for it this week. Starting this week against the Browns, we'll really, really see what they're made of.
All right. So the difference between how you did and I did it was I also did it about a neutral field, but I just did it not based on what I thought the line would be, based on how I would bet it. And me with a heavy emphasis on coach and quarterback, which I factored in greatly. Now, 11th for me was the Baltimore Ravens. The reason that I kept them out of the top 10 is because what I said at the top of the telecast, which is they could just as easily be 1-4 as they are 4-1. They could be 5-0 too, but they could be 1-4. So I couldn't put them in the top 10. Chiefs, they still get a spot at 2-3 because of Patrick Mahomes and that offense. Obviously, their defense is terrible, and that's why they can't be any higher. Same sort of applies with the Tennessee Titans, who make my top 10 at number 9. Their defense is awful too, but what the Titans have that no other team has is this reliable Derrick Henry factor. And because of that, they are a very reliable bet to me in many, many situations. So they sneak in at 9. Then you have, and sort of like what you were saying, Matt, about, give or take a few spots, Green Bay Packers, it's Aaron Rodgers driven. They're at number 8. The Dallas Cowboys. Perhaps it's because of my rearing as a Washington football team fan that it goes against my very fiber to put them any higher. But they're definitely 7th easily for me. That offense is phenomenal, and that defense under Dan Quinn is much better than anyone thought. Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, just an incredible improvement to that defense. The only thing holding them back is Mike McCarthy, and that has yet to rear its head, but that's why I can't put him any higher than 7. Then it's Cleveland. Cleveland, if anything, being held back perhaps by Baker Mayfield of all people and the injuries currently coming, but I still think enough of this football team that they're number 6. The Rams get in there to the top 5 at number 5. Yeah, they had the strange bad loss to Arizona, which is why I put Arizona in front of them at number 4. The difference to me between the Rams and the Cardinals is if I'm betting these teams on a neutral field, who do I trust more in the end? Kyler Murray or a new Rams offense with Matthew Stafford? And the answer is still Kyler Murray. The thought of betting against him in that situation, I can't. Arizona, to me, the only undefeated team in football, they're number 4. Then it's Tom Brady at 3 and the Buccaneers. How can they not be high? They are. I've got Buffalo at 2. And then, because I like the coach and quarterback combination better than any other one in the NFL, I have the Los Angeles Chargers as my number 1 power ranked team. I know there's a lot of Chargers fans out there who'll be like, you got to be kidding me. Nope, I'm not. There are not a lot of situations where I don't find value on the Chargers from week to week, and I'm not sure I don't bet them on a neutral against anybody right now. Those are mine. Kelly.
All right, yeah, I'll run through my top 10. So I guess the way I did it was just, on a neutral field up to this point in the season, if these teams all had to play each other right now, who's the best? It was hard for me to stop, and I guess I'll start at the top because Cardinals, you guys did not have nearly as high as I did.
Get out of town. I'll wait for the argument segment next. Okay, I'll wait for the argument.
You can wait for it.
I'll wait for the argument segment next. Next segment.
Because do I think they're going to win the Super Bowl? No. But as of right now, they're sitting here undefeated. Okay, they've beaten the Rams, who
they're not even favored this week against the Browns. What do you mean if they played on a neutral field, they'd be favored against?
I didn't say that. I think they would beat them, though. I think they would beat them. All I'm talking about is teams. All I'm talking about is what team would beat which team. Okay, and we've seen some of this play out so far. Cardinals have beaten the Rams. I think I would have had the Rams number 1, but how can I sit here and say the Rams are better than the Cardinals right now when they just lost to them 2 weeks ago?
I'm sorry, Kelly. We're out of time. We'll have to wait.
I can't wait till the argument segment. Hurry up and get through this so we can argue next segment. Let's go.
All right, Rams number 2, and I got the Bucks number 3. We all have the Bucks number 3, which is kind of the most random part of this.
That's interesting.
Bucks number 3, Bills number 4. I went back and forth on where to put the Bills, but outside of the Chiefs game, where honestly I thought they were going to win anyways, they really haven't beaten anybody much. I know that they're number 1 DVOA football outsiders. That's great, but really they haven't done all that much as far as opponent strength. I'm gonna roll through this quick. Cowboys 5, Chargers 6, Browns 7, Chiefs 8, Packers 9, Ravens 10. Kind of with you guys, 8, 9, 10. You could jumble them.
We will allot you 90 seconds next segment for your nonsense to explain your nonsense on here.
Sure.
I have to say this. As different as they are, there's a lot of similarities, too. We were just going through our top 10 power-ranked teams in the National Football League. And again, not everybody, but a lot of people who bet sports, and specifically the NFL, which is what we're talking about now, have their own power rankings. It informs their bets from week to week. Not everybody makes their own power rankings, but many do. And for the purposes of this exercise, it is very interesting because it sort of recalibrates your brain into sort of ranking teams in a way that you may not necessarily process on a week-to-week basis. Sort of gives you context. So, Kelly, we rushed you through yours. Did you have anything else to say about yours, or is it time for Matt to ask you a question?
Yeah, sure. I guess I'll finish explaining as Ulala gets another interception. So really not looking good in the Fun Belt tonight. And I got news from Andy McNeil on the late NHL game tonight. It does look like the few players for the Kraken that could have missed because of COVID are expected to play. Andy said he did take a piece of plus 215 on the Kraken in that game tonight against the Golden Knights based off of that news.
Okay.
So, let's see. We got Bills at 4, Cowboys 5, Chargers 6. Gill, I'm with you on the Chargers. I just couldn't do it right now. If you want me to tell you where I think which teams are ticking up and which teams I think are getting better and better each week, Cowboys and Chargers are probably at the top of this list. Those are probably the two that I can see even getting better, and I would be most interested in betting on right now, I guess I would say. Browns 7. I think we all expect them to still be there at the end, to be a good team this season. Would have expected them to be higher up in my rankings, but they've kind of let a couple of these ones go. Chiefs, that defense is horrible. I almost had a problem with myself putting them at 8. The problem is if I played them, if we played against the Packers, played again against the Ravens, I still think that offense is going to be too much for a lot of these teams to handle. Matt's shaking his head.
No, we're watching the baseball game. Sorry, we're multitasking.
But I'm with you guys kind of on those back end teams.
Just to be clear, I am shaking my head at your 10 as well.
Also,
so
multitasking shake.
Yes, that was a dual shake right there. That was for what's going on in the baseball game and this nonsense.
I would say I've got Kansas City. I have Kansas City and Green Bay, kind of that tier below.
So I want an explanation from both of you guys.
Okay, before you ask, just to explain what we were watching. Yeah. The Braves led off the bottom of the 7th. Duvall was at the plate. Little routine infield pop-up. Brandon Woodruff and Rowdy Tellez, the pitcher and the first baseman, both approached the ball in the air. They both looked at each other. It dropped right between them, and Rowdy picked it up and looked at first base, and he remembered, oh, that's right, I'm the first baseman.
Yeah, there's no one there.
There's no one there.
And then Jock Peterson proceeds to hit another ball so softly that they cannot turn to on it.
That's right.
And,
it ends up being a sacrifice to get Duvall to second. Okay, sorry about that.
So I get how you guys went about this. As far as your rankings go, you're saying that if a team is ranked above another team in your top 10, those two teams played tomorrow out at Raider Stadium over here, you would pick that team to beat that team?
Yes.
Okay. So if it was a pick'em game, you would pick that team to beat that team?
Yes.
Tomorrow.
Yes.
Tomorrow. So you would pick the Chargers to beat any team in the NFL.
Yeah, that's how I feel about them right now. Because of the Brandon Staley, Justin Herbert combination. I don't find that to be an outlandish thing at all.
I don't think it's outlandish either.
At all.
I don't have the stones to go that far, but I don't think it's outlandish.
So you're telling me then, Kelly, out here in Raider Stadium, the Cardinals play the Bills.
Raider Stadium.
Tomorrow.
Yes, I think.
And it's a pick 'em. You would bet the Cardinals.
Yes, based off of what these
or the Rams or you would bet them over the Rams, over the Bucks, over the Bills. You would bet them straight up in a pick 'em.
Yes.
Against any of those teams.
His voice is getting louder. That means he's more outraged by your team.
He's more outraged by mine. He's absolutely more outraged by mine.
I mean, I think both of them are ridiculous, but this is just
based off of what I've seen in the first 5 weeks of the season, that's the only team, and I know this is an easy cop-out, so you can call me out on it, but this is the only team that's taking care of business with every game they've had to play, and they haven't played a soft schedule. Some of these other teams have played softer schedules. We're talking a team that is taking care of business on the road against the Rams. They've beaten the Titans on the road. They've beaten the Vikings. Whatever you want to say about the Vikings, fine. They're at least a middle of the road team. They're not a horrible team. And whatever, San Francisco still a divisional game. They got that done. I mean, the Bills, yes, they beat the Chiefs. That's fantastic. But okay, you lost to the Steelers. You won at Miami. Congratulations. You beat the Washington football team.
Yeah, and the Chargers, in my defense,
and then you beat Houston. Right. Congratulations.
Yeah, and the Chargers have lost one game to the Cowboys, also on that list by 3. So, I mean, and that's the thing. The schedules matter here. That's why Green Bay can't be any higher. right? Because their schedule's been weak too.
That's the way I looked at it.
Yeah.
And honestly, the only reason I would say not the only reason, because I do think I think the Cowboys personally are a little better than the Chargers, but I did go based off of, hey, the Cowboys beat the Chargers. I'm going to put them one spot ahead of where the Chargers are at in my rank.
Here's the thing: the exercise is just to come up with your top 10. Like, I don't have any problem with you having the Chargers at 5 or the Chargers at 6. Just don't have the Chargers at 10, right?
I agree.
Just like if you had the Bills at 10, I'd be like, what are you doing with the Bills at 10? None of us have that.
Oh, I slid. Matt's so funny right now. The Bills definitely went from they went from like 1 to 5 in my rankings and bounced back and forth. But when I went and started just sorting through it all and what I thought from what I had seen through the season so far, that's the conclusion I came up with.
I think the Bills would be favored on a neutral against any team in the NFL.
I'm not saying they wouldn't be. That's where your exercise is different than ours.
Well, but also I also think that lends to that they're
you also think they would beat them.
That they're the best team in the NFL as well. I mean, that's at least what the general thought would be, right? If they're favored against.
Right, but we're doing our own power rankings, not the general thought.
So tomorrow, you're betting the Chargers over the Bills.
Yeah, I think I would.
On a pick 'em.
I think I would. Again, the Bills.
Matt, I understand why you're asking us that question, but
because you just watched. I mean, you just watched
against a terrible defense.
You just watched the Browns go up and down the field. Like you just watched the Browns go up and down the field on the Chargers, right? Like, and so the Browns go up and down the field on the Chargers. So are we thinking that the Bills are not going to be able to do the same?
I don't think the Bills are going to stop the Chargers either.
I mean, I have the Bills in front of the Chargers, so I guess they don't. Direct your look at that guy for that question.
Your thing's just as egregious.
And I have the Bills at number 2. So what are we really talking about here? Like, come on. Like, I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
No. I'm just using the Bills because that's just like, I don't know.
Me having the only undefeated team in the NFL number 1 is egregious, apparently.
Well, I mean, let's be for real. That was not a super convincing win. Look, I needed it. Just don't get me wrong. I needed it as bad as we all did or whatever, but that was definitely not a super convincing win this past week. It was they've couple of other games. Now the Rams win is massive. Like that is a super massive, humbling win for that Rams team.
And that's the single most deciding factor on my top 5, Matt.
Was which? Arizona beating the Rams.
The fact that they went in and beat the Rams.
That's a very anomalous kind of win. Like, that's a win that, when we do this exercise, that's a win that leaps off the page where you're like, wow, okay. Even because if it weren't for that game, it might have been completely different. But because of that game, you kind of have to respect Arizona.
You do. But then you also look back and you go, ooh, they super struggled against the Vikings at home, and the Vikings
Niners
are terrible. And then
the Niners
then if you guys remember, we walked out of here thinking they were going to lose to the Jags. And then they had to come back and beat the Jags.
I don't even remember.
Look, I love the
I
Bills.
don't even remember that.
I love the Bills. I think they're the best team in the AFC. I got to be honest though, Matt. I think there's at least 3 NFC teams better than them, maybe even 4.
Then the who?
Then the Bills.
Oh my.
Oh
my.
Yeah.
Ooh. Interesting.
Ooh, that took a turn.
Then you should bet some futures for sure.
Let me ask you one question though. So, and I think we can all, maybe we will agree on this, maybe we won't. So we had to do the top 10. And as I mentioned, the Ravens were my 11. After that, it falls off a cliff.
Oh, the top 10 was a difficult assignment.
But like once you get past this group of teams, it gets ugly quick. Because then it's New Orleans, it's like Carolina or somebody. Then it really gets weird.
I guess I was a little surprised to see New Orleans not 10 on any of ours.
No.
Just because some of the analytic websites that have them ranked high, but
there were and I actually had a good friend of ours, Eric Eager, who comes on the show. I actually had a little Twitter exchange with him today. Because of Pro Football Focus's power rankings, which I think are completely absurd. And I love Pro Football.
What were theirs?
Chargers are 14th in theirs.
I think they're absurd too.
Yeah, I said to him, I was like, hey, Eric, what's up with this? Because New Orleans is ahead of them Seattle is ahead of them.
Yeah.
The 49ers are ahead of them in these power rankings. And it's like, well, there's a lot of priors involved. And I'm like, see, that's where.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to Drew later. Drew relies a lot on his priors and stuff. And like,
I have Aaron Schatz from Football Outsiders on a numbers game tomorrow morning.
And I'm just kind of like, at some point, don't you got to abandon your priors if